Hey guys, good evening. Guys, if you are able to see my screen, just type S in the chat box so that we can get started. Okay. Thanks for the confirmation, guys. So today we are going to go with the next topic. So till now we have seen a lot of Selenium WebDriver commands in between. So we are now going to resume the Java in this session, guys. Okay, we are going to resume the Java. So these are the topics that we have completed in the previous session: Selenium for automation, installation, and getting started. Okay, and after that, the Selenium WebDriver getting started list commands. Okay, all the getting started list commands we have completed. Before we move to the advanced sections of Selenium, before we move to the advanced part of Selenium here, okay, I'm going to cover you the remaining core Java concepts. Okay, the remaining core Java concepts. So guys, tell me what is the concept I'm going to cover today, Selenium or core Java? Just type in the chat box. What is the concepts I'm going to cover today? Is it related to Selenium or core Java? Yes, it's related to core Java. You are right, Monica. You are right, Janavi. Okay, whatever the remaining portions of core Java are left out for learning Selenium automation that I'm going to cover today. These are very important. Without this, right, you will not understand these advanced sections of Selenium. Okay. For normal Selenium commands, whatever the Java I have covered so far is enough. Till modifiers interfaces is enough. But now to understand the further concepts of Selenium automation, we need to cover this remaining portions of Java, guys. That is arrays, strings, wrapper classes, exception handling, packages, handling files, collections framework. Okay, these are the few important concepts that are left out in core Java that I'm going to cover today. So give me a second. I'm going to ping in the WhatsApp group. Meanwhile, I'll also launch this. This is a batch 2 launch. And just come here, click on WhatsApp and just let me ping it out. While the Eclipse ID launch, meanwhile, I'll just ping here. Session started. You can join now. Okay, fine. Anyhow, the Eclipse ID is also launching. I'm going to cover the topic known as arrays. Everyone type in the chat box the name of the core Java concept that I'm going to cover now, right now. What is the core Java concept I'm going to cover right now? It's nothing but arrays. I'm going to cover arrays, guys. Okay. I'll open these notes here. Meanwhile, while you are typing in the chat box the name of the concept in core Java that I'm going to cover now, that is arrays. Okay, fine. Arrays. Fine. The concept here is arrays, guys. So why arrays? First of all, if you take a variable, guys, if I take one example of a variable, let's say int a is equal to, into this particular variables, how many values or literals I can store? Tell me, guys. At a time,
only one value we can store.
One variable. In this one variable, only one value can be stored. So if I store 5 here, this 5 is only the one value that we can store. Can I store something like this? Can I store something like this? Is it possible in Java to store something like this, multiple values into a single variable? It's not possible, right? You will get compiler error here. In this case, you will get compiler error. While writing the Java code, if you try to store multiple values into the same variable, okay, I'm going to show you that. For that, I'll create a package. Yes, we'll get compiler error. Arrays demo. Click on finish. Create new class. Okay, so variables and multiple values. Demo. It's not possible. Anyhow, it's not possible. We are going to get a compiler error. With main method, I'm going to create this particular class. And inside this main method, I'm going to create a variable here, that is int a is equal to 5. Up to here, no problem, guys. Are you getting any compiler error? No. When I create a variable and declare that variable in data type and storing a value into that particular variable, am I getting any compiler error? No. Here I'm not getting any compiler error, but if I create one more variable, if I try to store multiple values into this particular variable, here I'm getting a compiler error. You see, into a variable, I can store only one value at a time. But if I try to store multiple values like this, over the mouse, you see what type mismatch cannot convert from some array to integer, it is saying. So this particular variable cannot store this many number of values. You are going to get some kind of compiler error. So compiler error will come. Okay. Compiler error will be resulted. Compiler error will be resulted. Okay. This is what will happen, guys. So, but is there any way in Java where we can store multiple values into a single variable? Is there any way in Java where you can store multiple values of same data type into a single variable? Yes, it is there. That is nothing but arrays. Into the normal variables, you cannot store multiple values, guys. Into the normal variables, you cannot store multiple values into a single normal variable. But there is a way in Java where you can store multiple values of the same data type into a single variable if you kind of create that variable as array type. Okay, it is possible with the help of arrays. How it is possible, guys? With the help of arrays. What is the solution then? If we use arrays, okay, if we use arrays, we can store multiple values of same data type, to a single variable which is declared as an array. Instead of normal data type, if that particular variable is declared as an array, which is nothing but an array, into an array we can store multiple values into a single variable which is declared with an array. But into a normal variable we cannot store multiple values. Okay, even though they are also same data type, also they cannot store in multiple values into a single variable if that is a normal variable. If that particular variable is a array declared variable, then we can store multiple values of the same data type into that array declared variable or array, okay, declared variable. Fine. So before I demonstrate the arrays for you, arrays can be categorized at a high level into multiple types. What are the different types of arrays we have, guys? What are the different type of arrays you can see on the screen here? Single dimensional arrays. Second one is a two-dimensional arrays. Third one is a three-dimensional arrays. Okay. Using arrays, we can store multiple values of the same data type into a single variable. That's fine. We have single dimensional arrays, two-dimensional arrays, and three-dimensional arrays. Out of these three types of arrays, for Selenium automation, we have to learn only single dimensional and two-dimensional. More than enough. Do you need to learn three-dimensional arrays for Selenium automation? You have to learn three-dimensional arrays for Selenium automation? The answer is no. For Selenium automation, single and two-dimensional are more than enough, guys. So in this session, I'm not going to cover the three-dimensional arrays. Okay, maybe in the upcoming days, where I have to cover Java concepts in depth, I may take up the three-dimensional arrays. But now I'm not going to cover that. I've just already noted down some concepts somewhere, guys. Okay, let me go and see whether three-dimensional kind of concept is there. I have a list of concepts, guys, that I have earlier noted down. 1 minute. Let me go there. It's been a while. Okay, it's been a while actually. Yeah, this is the topic. Here, do we have anywhere manipulating arrays is there? I'll say three-dimensional arrays also I'll cover. Okay, three-dimensional arrays. Dimensional arrays. It's an additional topic, guys. So all the additional topics I'm listing down here. Whatever the topics that I have not covered as part of the normal training sessions in the 50-day training plan, right? They will be covered for you in the detailed Java sessions in the coming days. Okay. Whoever is interested can attend the detailed Java sessions. Okay. Fine. Anyhow, we'll go back to the previous thing. Where is the previous? Yes, here arrays. Okay. Fine. Let's go back. So I have noted down the three-dimensional array as a future topic. But for now, as part of this session, only single-dimensional arrays and two-dimensional arrays only I'm going to cover. And coming to the first one, that is single-dimensional arrays. Okay, coming to the single-dimensional arrays. So what are single-dimensional arrays? We can store multiple values of same data type into a single variable. Okay, known as a arrays. Okay, they are known as arrays. But if you want to create a single-dimensional array, how to create that? Here, I'm going to create a new class. I'll just name this class as single dimensional arrays demo. Single dimensional arrays demo with main method I'm going to create. Click on finish. Inside this main method, I'm going to create a variable, guys. I'm going to create a variable. So here, normal variable will be created like this, right? Integer a. If you want to create a normal variable, you have to create something like this. But if you want to create an array type of variable, if you want to create an array, this is not the normal way. Either you have to provide the square bracket. If it is single dimensional array, single square brackets, single amount of square brackets, static and closing square brackets have to provide it beside the data type. Or you can also provide like this, guys. Okay, these are two ways of declaring the arrays. Okay, either you can provide the single dimensional array immediately after the data type in this variable declaration statement, so that this particular thing is no more a variable, it is an array. Whereas you can also provide this square brackets after the variable name also. But I prefer the first way, guys. Okay, I prefer the first way of declaring the variable as an array. Okay, this is an array variable. It's an array, guys. Simple thing is it's an array. Okay, clear everyone? Clear everyone? How to create the array variables is clear. How to create the array variables is clear. Yes. Okay, either you can provide the circular brackets beside the data type, or you can provide the either you can provide the square brackets beside the data type. If you provide single square bracket, that is a single dimensional array. If you provide single square bracket either beside the data type or beside the variable, that is a single dimensional array. Now, if you want to create an array, this is only declaring the array, guys, but you have not created it. If you want to create the array, apart from declaring the array, for example, int AR is equal to new int of, you need to create an object. In Java, what is the purpose of the new keyword, guys? What is the purpose of the new keyword? In Java, what is the purpose of the new keyword? To create an object. Yes, Janavi, you are right. To create an object, we generally use a new keyword. Here we are creating an object for integer array type. Here, using the new keyword, we are creating an object for the integer array type. Put a semicolon here. Integer array, I don't prefer writing the square brackets after the variable name. Rather, I prefer to write the square brackets. You see, it's up to you. Both will work. But I personally prefer providing the square brackets after the integer array, so that the readability for me is more. Integer array AR is equal to new integer array. But why we are getting compiler error here? We created an integer array, guys. We create an object for the integer array and all those stuff. But why we are getting a compiler error? Here, in this square bracket, after the new int, inside this square bracket, we have to provide the number of elements or number of values you want to store into this array variable. Into a normal variable, you can store only one value. But into an array, you can store multiple values. You have to specify how many values you want to store here. If I specify the number here, you see the error is gone. Now, this is what is a array creation statement, guys. Everyone type in the chat box this sample array creation statement, so that you will remember. Integer array AR is equal to new integer of the size 3. Everyone type in the chat box, so that anyone new to this arrays concept will remember properly. This is an single dimensional integer array AR is equal to new integer array of the size 3. Of the size 3. Yes, correct, TP, you are right. Integer array AR is equal to new integer array of the size 3, for example. What about other people? Everyone type in the chat box this example array. You try to type once in the chat box, guys. Here itself you are practicing. You don't have to, complete my session to practice the stuff. When you type in the chat box, you will become confident. Okay. So that's the reason I ask people to type in the chat box, and you will also be very interactive during the sessions. On the top of that, yes, everyone is correct. Integer array is equal to new integer array of 5 or 3 or whatever the value you can give. That's correct. 100% right. Yes, correct. Fine. Here, the moment I create an object for an integer array, what will happen in the computer memory? What will happen the moment I create an object for an integer array of the size 3? What will happen in the computer memory when I use a new keyword? Some memory will be allocated for the object. Here I'll go here, guys. I'll just go here. Let's assume there is a computer memory. In the computer memory, let's assume that is a computer memory. In this computer memory, some memory will be allocated for this particular object. Some object one, I'll say some object one. A memory got allocated for this particular object one in the computer memory. So what is the object reference here? Who is object reference? AR is the object reference. AR is the object reference. So AR is the name of the object reference, which is referring to this memory location. Since we cannot remember the memory address of this particular memory that is allocated to this particular array object, okay, we have to use this object reference. Here AR is the object reference. Okay, here AR is the name of the object reference, which is referring to the actual object that is allocated for the array memory. But what is the size of the array? Guys, tell me, what is the size of the array? 3. In this example, the size of the array is 3. So this particular memory that got allocated for the array will be splitted into or sliced into or partitioned into 3 partitions. This particular, okay, memory that got allocated to the object of the array will be divided into how many partitions? 3 partitions. Why? Here the size of the array we mentioned as 3. That's why 3 partitions. First partition, second partition, and third partition. And in arrays, we have a concept known as indexing. Everyone type in the chat box. There is a concept known as indexing. Everyone type in the chat box indexing. Yes, that's right. Indexing. Whatever you are typing in the chat box is 100% right. That is what is indexing. Okay. There's a concept in arrays known as indexing. What is indexing? Okay. I'll type here. There's a concept in the arrays known as indexing concept. As per the indexing concept, the first partition of the array will be allocated to the 0th index. What will be the first index, guys? First partition's index will be what? 0. Indexing will be starting from 0. Here there are 3 slots. 3 partitions, 3 slots. The first slot will have the index 0. The second slot will have the index 1. And third slot will have the index 2. This is how the slots will be there. The first slot will have the index 0. Second slot will have the index 1. Third slot will have the index 2. Okay. Total how many elements? Tell me. What is the size of the array? If I ask you what is the size of the array? 3. What is the index of the first element of the array? What is the index of the first partition of the array? 0. What is the index of the second element or second partition of the array? Yes, 1. What is the index of the third partition or third element of the array? 2. The last one will be size minus 1. The last element's partition index will be what? Size is 3. 3 minus 1 is how much? 2. N minus 1. Here size is 3. 3 minus 1 will be the index of the last element of the array. Okay. The first element of the array will have the index 0. The last element of the array will have the index as size minus 1. Everyone type in the chat box. The first element index is equal to 0. The last element index is equal to size minus 1. Last element index is equal to size minus 1. Everyone, first element index is equal to 0. It will start with 0. And the last element's index will be size minus 1. Size minus 1. First element index, that's 100% right, whatever you are typing. And the last element index is equal to size minus 1. Okay, this basics you have to be aware of. Now you have the idea of the indexing. Now I'm going to use this indexing, guys. I want to store multiple values into this particular variable, which is not a variable, it is an array. Okay, I want to store multiple values into this particular array. The moment you provide this declaration before a variable, it becomes an array. Okay, into this particular array, I can store up to 3 values or 3 elements. Okay, if I want to store the first element, I have to give the name of the array, guys, that is AR, followed by I have to provide the square brackets. In the square brackets, I have to provide the index. The first element index will be what, guys? Tell me. The first element index will be what? 0. I have to give AR of 0. Everyone type in the chat box. Name of the array of 0 is the first element, is equal to I am initializing. For the first time, I'm assigning the values to this particular array means initializing. I'm initializing the array elements. I'm initializing the array elements. The first element I'm initializing with the value 9. Okay. Then what about the second element? How to write? Tell me, can anyone tell me how to write the second element? How to write the second element? AR of 1 is equal to, I'll give 5 here. I'll give 5 here. Okay. AR of 2, last element, size minus 1, 3 minus 1, that is 2. Last element is 7. Like this, I'll give guys. So did I initialize the array elements? Initializing array elements. What about this one? This statement, declaring and creating an array. Creating means object creation. Okay. Declaring and creating an array. Okay. Declaring and creating an array. This part is declaration. This part is creation. And this part is initializing the array elements. This part is initializing the array elements. Okay. Now I have declared the array. I have initialized I have created the array. Now I am going to I have initialized the array. Now I want to access the array elements. The next thing is what? Accessing array elements. Till here everyone is clear? Declaring, creation and initialization is clear for everyone, guys. Declaration, creation and initialization is clear for everyone. Just type C in the chat box if you are clear so far. Declaring, creation and initialization, is it clear? Yes, great. Now next thing is accessing. Everyone type in the chat box. Now you have stored the elements into the arrays. I want to retrieve the elements from the array. Whenever I want to retrieve the elements from the array. That is called as accessing. Retrieving the elements from an array is called as accessing. How to access the array elements? Here I have to simply write down system.out.println AR of 0. What will happen, guys? What will be printed here? Can anyone say what will be printed here? Yes, the value that is stored into this array element at the index 0, okay, will be stored here. If I write down system.out.println AR of 1, then what will be printed? 5 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 2, what will be printed? 7 will be printed, right? So this is how we can access the array elements. When I say AR of 0, the value that is stored into this array element will be retrieved and that will be printed by the println statement. AR of 1, the value that is stored at the index 1 of the array, that is 5, will be retrieved and printed. Like we are printing the variable values, right? Similarly, we are printing the array element values here. Simple. Okay, 957. Okay, run the code and see whether that is happening or not. So with this example, we are already clear about how to declare an array, how to create an array, how to initialize the array elements, how to access the array elements. All these 4 items we are clear. You see, all the values of the array elements 957 got printed. So what are the things that I covered, guys? Declaring the arrays, creating the arrays. This part is declaration. This part is creation. This part is initialization. And this part is accessing. Okay. 4 areas I covered. Declaring, creation, initializing, and accessing. Okay. Everyone clear so far? How to declare, how to create, how to initialize, and how to access the single dimensional arrays is clear for everyone? Great. Already I demonstrated this diagrammatic representation in the memory level, how the values will be stored and all. You see, array. Okay, array objects will be created generally in the heap memory. We'll not go to the memory concepts right now. I'll cover that later. I don't want to take that until Selenium automation concepts are completed, right? Let's not go to the any other discussions. Here, once I create an object for an array, this particular memory will be allocated for this array in the computer memory. Okay, whatever the memory. In that, the first element will be stored at the index, second element will be stored at the index 1, third element will be stored at the index 2, that is size minus 1. Okay, and we are giving some object reference, that is AR in our case. In our example, that was AR. In this example, it is A. Okay, now to initialize the elements of this particular array, we have to say A of index 0, A of square bracket 0 is equal to 5. That means 5 will be stored. When I say, the moment I say AR of 0 is equal to 9 means what will happen? Into the memory, in the first slot, the 9 value will be stored. The moment I say AR of 1 is equal to 5, what will happen? Here 5 will be stored. The moment I say AR of 2 means what will happen? Here 7 will be stored. Like this, the elements will be, multiple elements will be stored into this particular array. At the index 0, 9 value is stored. At the index 1 of the AR array, 5 is stored. At the index 2 of the AR array, 7 is stored. Okay. Now, if I want to access this array elements, this particular 957, if I want to access, using this indexes, I have to access. AR of 0 means 9 will be accessed. AR of 1 means 5 will be accessed. AR of 2 means 7 will be accessed. Simple. Okay. That's how simple it is. You see, system.out.println, AR of A of 0 means 5 will be printed. A of 1 means 2 will be printed. A of 2 means 9 will be printed. Simple. Okay. So that's what is all about declaring, creating, assigning, initializing or assigning and accessing the single dimensional arrays. Diagrammatic representation also I completed. Now guys, now we'll go to the next example where I'm going to show you a shortcut representation of an array. Everyone type in the chat box. Shortcut representation of an array. Shortcut representation. Everyone type shortcut representation in the chat box, so that I can go to the next example. I show you how instead of writing the arrays like this, instead of writing the array, declaring the arrays, creating the array, initializing the arrays, this many lines instead of writing, I'm going to show you a shortcut representation of an array. So for that, I'll write down here single dimensional shortcut representation demo with main method I'm going to create. I'm going to create an array in the normal way, guys, not in the shortcut way. First of all, I'm going to create the array like this. Integer array AR is equal to new int of, I'll just give some 9. Okay, 9 elements I want to store. AR of 0 is equal to 9, I'll say. AR of 0 is equal to 9. AR of, this is normal way, right? It's not the shortcut way, it's the normal way. AR of 1 is equal to 5. AR of 2 is equal to 7. Okay, AR of 2 is equal to 7. AR of 3 is equal to 1, I'll say. 3 is equal to 1. AR of 4 is equal to, I'll say, 8. AR of 5 is equal to, I'll say 3. AR of 6 is equal to, I'll say 2. AR of 7 is equal to, here I'll say 6. Okay, AR of 7 is equal to 6. AR of 8 is equal to, AR of 8 is equal to 4. Okay, 4 I'll give. So these are the elements I created. If I want to access the elements, what I have to do? System.out.println AR of 0. This will print 9. Okay. Total how many elements are there? 9. 0 to 9 minus 1, that is 8. 0 to 9 minus 1, that is 8. So total 9 elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Total 9 are there. System.out.println AR of 1. AR of 1 is equal to 5. System.out.println AR of 2 is equal to 7. System.out.println AR of 3 is equal to 1. System.out.println AR of 4 is equal to 8. System.out.println AR of 5 is equal to 3. System.out.println AR of 6 is equal to 2. System.out.println AR of 7 is equal to 6. 6 will be retrieved and printed. Okay. System.out.println AR of 8. That means 4. 4 will be retrieved and printed. So like this, how many lines I am writing for declaring, for creating, and for initializing? How many lines are required? Total 10 lines are required. Line 1, 9 lines. In this example, total 10 lines are required for declaring, creating, and initializing. Okay. Total 10 lines are required here. Don't worry about that. I'll cover that later, Srinivas. Okay. Let's focus on this, whatever I'm covering now. Okay. I'll come to the topic that will come later. Okay. Don't worry about that. That will be covered for you. Fine. For now, answer, guys. How many lines are there here? How many lines are there here? Total how many lines of code are there? line 1, and these are 9 lines. Total how many lines? 9 plus 1, 10 lines. Total 10 lines, guys. Line 1, and these are 9 lines. Total 10 lines are there. I don't want to create this 10 lines. Rather, I want to wrap up this 10 lines in a single line. I want to wrap up that 10 lines into a single line. How to do that? How to wrap up this 10 lines into a single line? I have to go with which representation of the array? If I want to go with which representation of the array? Shortcut representation of the array. Here, after declaring this array, this side when you're creating an array, at the side of creating the array, remove that and provide curly braces. Which braces you have to provide? Everyone type in the chat box. For shortcut representation of the array, which braces I have to provide? Curly braces I have to provide. I have to provide the curly braces. In the curly braces, take all these array elements, 9 comma, this one. What is the next one? 5, 5 comma. Then what is the next one? 7, 7 comma. Then what is the next one? 1, 1 comma. Then what is the next one? 8, 8 comma. What is the next one? 3, 3 comma. What is the next one? 2, 2 comma. What is the next one? 6, 6 comma. What is the next one? 4, 4. That's it. Okay, remove all the statements. Remove all the statements. That's it, guys. 10 lines got reduced to how many lines now? 10 lines got reduced to how many lines now? With the shortcut representation. This is called as the shortcut representation of the array. This is nothing but the shortcut representation. Shortcut representation. Representation of the array. This is a shortcut representation of the array, guys. I've reduced the 10 lines into one line, okay? With the shortcut representation. So whenever I get a option that I have to create an array, single dimensional array, I may choose a normal way of creating an array and shortcut representation of the array. But out of both, I'll prefer, if there is a chance, I'll prefer the shortcut representation only until and unless it's not required. Okay. I generally choose the shortcut representation because in a single line, I can create an array. I can declare the array. I can initialize the array elements in a single line. That's what is the power of the shortcut representation of the array. Fine. Fine. So let's see whether this output is coming still or not after the shortcut representation of the array 957183957183264. 957183264. You see all the elements got printed properly. 957183264. So working fine? Yes. Everyone clear with this shortcut representation of the array? This particular example is clear for everyone. Just type C in the chat box if it is clear for you. This is a shortcut representation of the array, guys. This is a shortcut representation of the array. Just type C in the chat box if you are clear with that. Great. Shortcut representation of the single dimensional array. Now, the next thing is finding the size of the array. Finding the size of the array. Everyone type in the chat box. Finding the size. Array size. Otherwise, you can simply type array size. Array size. I'm going to write a program to find the size of the array. Yeah, array size or finding the. Okay, that is the next program I'm going to demonstrate, guys. Finding the size of the array. That is array size I'm going to demonstrate. Right click here. Create new class. Finding size of array demo. Finding size of array demo with main method. Okay. So here I'm going to write down integer array. Integer array AR is equal to new integer array of integer array. New is equal to new integer array of. Instead of giving this representation, I'll give the shortcut representation. That is whenever I get a chance, I use the shortcut representation, guys. 9, 5, 7, 1, 8, 4, 3, 2, 6, 0, 11, 35, 19, 22, 13, 18, okay, 99, 54, 72. Some random numbers I am giving. Okay, 72, 87, okay, then 50, 45, 34, 62, like that, many elements. I don't know what is the size of this array. This is a very big size. I just want to find the size of the array. I don't want to count manually 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. I don't want to count. So there is a predefined variable for the arrays. There is a predefined variable for the arrays. Predefined variable for the arrays. There's a predefined variables from arrays known as length predefined variable. Like methods we have. Okay, we have some predefined classes, predefined variables, predefined methods. Like length is a predefined variables of the array, which can be used to find the size of the array. Predefined variable of for the array length. Okay, using which we can find array size. Everyone type in the chat box. Length. Okay, array size hyphen length predefined variable. Array size hyphen length predefined variable. Array size hyphen length predefined variable. Everyone type in the chat box so that you will remember that. Length is a predefined variable of the arrays using which we can find the size of the array. Array size hyphen length predefined variable. Yes, correct. Length is a predefined variable of Janavi. You are right. Array size length predefined variable. Yes, you guys are right. Monica, TP, Satya, everyone is right. Correct. Okay. Yes, Vishnu. Correct. So let's go to the practicals now and find the size of the array. How to find the size of the array? AR dot. What is the name of the array? AR dot. How to call predefined method or predefined variable. To find the size of the array, how to call the predefined variable or predefined method. After the array name, this object reference, right? AR is object reference. Array is nothing but a object oriented thing. Okay. AR is object reference. Using the object reference, I can call the methods and variables. I have to call variable here, predefined variable known as length predefined variable. Put a semicolon here. Length predefined variable will return you the integer value. Int AR size, I'll say. Okay, just give some random name of the variable AR size. Now simply say system.out.println. I'll write down size of the array is colon plus AR size. I'll write like this. Okay, size of the array is plus AR size. Here plus is a concatenation operator, string literal text concatenated with the actual size of the array, which is, we don't know what is the size of the array. Let's print it out and find out. After that, I'll calculate. When I run the code, you see size of the array is printed as how much, guys? Size of this particular array is printed as how much? Size of the array is printed as how much? 24. Let's find it out whether the answer is right or not. Whether the length predefined variable is giving the correct size or not. Let's find it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Total 24 came, guys. That's correct only, right? Length predefined variable of the array is finding the size of the arrays. Okay, everyone clear with this? Whether you create a normal representation of the array or shortcut representation of the array, if you want to find the size of the array dynamically, tomorrow if I reduce one value here, 45 if I remove, now what will be the length will come as? If I remove one of the element in this particular array, what will be the length coming as? 23 will be printed. You say dynamically the array size is, we are able to get the dynamic size of the array. Whenever we want any changes in the array, right? It will be reflected here. Now 23 is output. That's correct, 100% right. If I increase the size, if I give more numbers, okay, like this, if I give more numbers, now 25 will be the size of the array. One more extra element I added, two more extra elements from 23, so 25 will come. So the moment you change the elements of the array here, the size of the array is also getting changed. Okay, the size of the array is also getting changed. We can store any number of values. There is no limit. Okay, for the arrays there is no limit. You can add any number of values. Okay, there is no limit to the arrays. You can store any number of elements into the array. Right? Okay, so yeah, any other questions, guys? Manju, I think your question is clear, right? How many total values we can store into the array? We can store any number of elements. Okay, there's no limit. There's no limit. Okay, you can store any number of elements that you want into the array. Okay, without any limit. Fine. Any other questions, anyone till now? Any other questions, anyone? Okay. Next thing is, you see, I think Srinivas was asking me a question about what is the error you get when you try to print an array. This is the answer for that question that I'm going to cover anyhow. Okay, Just Srinivas, you have to wait until this part comes, then I'll cover. Okay. Is that fine, Srinivas? I'll be covering your answer here. Great. Fine. Now let's move on to the next one. That is using for loop with single dimensional arrays. I'm going to cover using for loop with single dimensional arrays. I'm going to cover now. What is that for loop with single dimensional arrays? I'm going to tell you now. That is nothing but now when I try to access the elements of this array, so I'll create one more array, guys. I'll just tell you what is the reason why for loop is required. Okay. Single dimensional arrays for loop and for loop with single dimensional arrays. Single dimensional arrays. Okay. For loop with single dimensional arrays demo. Okay. With main method, I'm going to create, click on finish. For loop with single dimensional arrays. Just create here and write down here. What is that you have to write down? I'll create an array. Integer array AR is equal to shortcut representation of the array. I'll give a lot of elements here. 9, 5, 7, 1, 8, okay, 6, 3, 2, 4, 77, 89, 0, any other elements left out? 0, 77, okay, 54, 45, 34, 23, 14, 19, 10, 25, 38, and so on. Okay, a lot of elements I'm giving. Now, if I want to access all these array elements, what I would write, guys? If I want to access all these array elements, what I would write? System.out.println AR of 0. This 9 will be printed. This 9 will be printed. If I want to print the second element, system.out.println AR of 1. That is 5 will be printed. Let's go with the hard way. Okay, I'm trying to access each and every element of the array. When I say AR of 2, 7 will be printed. 7 will be this. AR of 2 is nothing but 0, 0th index, first index, second index. Okay, 7 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 3, 1 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 4, 8 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 5, 6 will be printed. Okay, system.out.println AR of 6, 3 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 7, 2 will be printed. System dot, we are accessing the array elements like this. Okay, AR of 8. When I say AR of 8, 4 will be retrieved and printed. System.out.println AR of 9, 77 will be printed. 77 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 10, AR of 10. After 77, what is there? 89 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 11, 0 will be printed. 0 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 12, 77 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 13. You see, our energy is getting drained out by writing this many number of print statements. Already you are getting the feel, right? Intentionally, I'm trying to get that feel of draining out. Okay, so that without you understand what is the headache here, you'll not understand why we have to use for loop. Okay, so that's the reason we are writing like this. AR of 14. After 54, 45 is there. 45 will be printed. System.out.println and just make it bit fast. Okay, 45. What is there? 34 is there. 34 will be printed. Then system.out.println AR of 16. What will be printed? AR of 16. 23 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 17. AR of 17. 14 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 18. After 14, 19 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 19. AR of 19. That is 10 will be printed. System.out.println AR of 20. That is nothing but 25 will be printed. Then system.out.println AR of 21. AR of 21. 38 will be printed. Okay, this many number of print statements I've written, guys. Almost 22 print statements I've written. 0 to 21 means total 22 elements. For each and every 22 elements, I've written the 22 statements. Is this the right approach? Right approach or wrong approach? Writing this many number of print statements to access array elements is a correct approach or not? Tell me. No, it's not
It's
a
a
right
lengthy
approach.
process.
It's a
Not
hectic
right.
process. Okay, it will drain you. Okay, depending on the number of elements in the array, it will take a lot of time for you, but this is not the right process. So what is the right? It will work fine. Definitely, it's going to work fine, but this is not the right way to access elements of the array. When you have a lot of elements in the array, it's not a good idea to access the elements of the array like this. So what we have to do, guys, I'll just comment out all this stuff. And what I have to do? I have to use something known as what? Looping statements. That is for loop I'll use. I explained about the for loop already, right? For loop. Okay, I'll use for loop. Starting of the for loop, ending of the for loop. And here I'll write down int I. Let's say I stands for index. Let's assume that I stands for index. Generally, most of the people who create a for loop, right? Okay, for accessing the elements of the array, right? They go with the variable like I here. They will create a variable inside the for loop like I because I stands for index, right? Instead of using A, B, C, D and all, they generally use IJ kind of stuff. So IJK like that they will use mostly. Okay, it's not compulsory, but you can use anything. I'm using I here. Let's assume that I stands for index for a while. I is equal to index is starting from where, guys? Index is starting from where in this array? Index is starting from where? Index is starting from where? Index is starting from, yes, right, 0 is the starting point. Put a semicolon. I less than the size of the array. What is the size of the array? If I count the size of the array, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So I less than 22, I have to say. Why I have to give I less than 22? Why I have to give I less than 22? Why I'm giving I less than 22? Yes. Starting from 0, its index is starting from 0. Index should be size minus 1. Size of the array minus 1. Total size of the array is 22. 22 minus 1 is 21. So when I say less than means it is 21 only, right? Up to 21 only it will accept. Less than means not equal to 22. Here I am not saying I less than or equal to. Like that I am not using. I less than 22 means up to 21 only. 0 to 21. Okay. 0 to 21, this for loop will iterate. Here also you can see 0 starting from 0, last index is 21. So I less than 22 is nothing but 21 only indirectly. I is equal to 0. I less than 22 means a number less than 22 is what? A number less than 22 is what, guys? Guys, I starting index is 0. And ending index what I'm giving? I less than 22 means a number less than 22 is what? A number less than 22 is 21. So that's why I'm writing I less than 22 here. Okay. A number less than 22 is 21. So I less than 22, which is the last index of the array, last elements index, last array elements index. Otherwise, I plus plus I'll write. I'll write I plus plus here. Okay. I'll write I plus plus. And here in the inside of for loop, I'll write down, instead of writing this many print statements here, almost 22 print statements I've written, right? Instead of writing those many print statements, I'm writing system.out.println. System.out.println, AR of square bracket. Inside the square bracket, what I have to provide? Tell me. Inside the square bracket, what I have to provide?
I.
Yes, correct. That is I. Because I is the index here. Okay. In every iteration, the value of I will change. Now, how this loop will work? And we'll get the same output. You see? All this 9, 5, 7, 8, 6, 3, 2, 4, 7, 7, 89, 0, 77, 54, 45, 34, 23, 14, 19, 10, 25, 38 will print it out. But how it will work? Initial index is 0. I is got 0. 0 less than 22 is true. We'll go inside the for loop. AR of, what is the current value of I? The current value of I is 0. AR of 0 is what? 9. 9 will be printed here. After that, the control will go to where? At the end of the for loop, the control will go to I plus plus. The value of I will be incremented by 1 by the time this condition will be checked. So I will become 1 now. 1 less than 22 is again true. Again, we'll go inside the for loop. AR of 1 means this 5 will be printed. Again, in the end, I will become 2 this time. 2 less than 22. AR of 2, 7 will be printed. 3, 3 less than 22. AR of 3, 1 will be printed. Like that, it will keep going until I becomes, let's say I becomes 20. 20 less than 22. Correct. AR of 20. AR of 20 is what? AR of 20 is this one. 25. 25 will be retrieved. Then finally, I will become 20. I will become 21. 21 less than 22. True. AR of 21 means last element of the array 38 also will be printed here. And after that, I will become 23. I will become 22. 22 less than 22, true or false? 22 less than 22, true or false, guys? 22 less than 22 is false. Will come out of the for loops. So index 0 to index 21 only. Okay. When I becomes 22, it's not going to retrieve any element. Up to AR of 21 only, last index. Okay. Last elements index, that is 21 only, it will iterate. Okay. You see which one is better, guys? Writing this many print statements is better, or writing the for loop is better in just 3 lines? Which one is better to retrieve all the elements of the array? To retrieve all the elements of the array, which one is better, for loop or printing or writing all these print statements? Which one is better? Okay, normal for loop is better here for now. Okay, now guys, tomorrow if I add one more element here, let's say if I add 12 here, will 12 will be printed? Let me know. If I add 12 here, will 12 will be printed? Using this for loop, will 12 will be printed?
No.
No. Up to where it will be printed? Last element will be 38 only. It will be printed. Up to 38 only will be printed. 12 will not be printed because 0 to 21 is nothing but 0 is 9. 21 is nothing but index 21 is nothing but 38. But did we anywhere mention 22 here? This one has 23 elements. So I have to increase this. This 22, I have to replace that with the latest size of the array, that is 23. I less than 23, I have to say. Now, if I say I less than 23, will it print 12?
Yes.
Yes, this time it will print because the size of the array I have updated here. Okay. You see, 12 also got printed. But if I give 22, 12 will not be printed, guys. Okay. If I give 22, last value if I give, it will not printed. Use up to 38 only, 12 is missed. Okay. Now, tomorrow, if I add more elements here, 88, 55, 44, 33, 22, like that, more elements I add. If I run this code, will I get that 88, 55, 44, 32? Up to 12 only I got. What about the remaining elements? 88, 55, 44, 32, 33, 22, they are not coming because every time I change the number of elements in the array, I have to go here and change the size of the array here. Instead of changing the size of the array here every time, can I get the size of the array dynamically? Can I get the size of the array dynamically here instead of giving a manually hard coding the number here of the size? Yes, that is AR dot what I have to say to get the size of the array. Yes,
Length.
AR dot length, use it directly. Okay. So reduce this to 38 again. Only 38 will come. Okay. Doesn't matter. AR dot length will take up to the size of the array. It will take us 22. I less than 22. It will use it 20 up to 38 got printed. Now if I add one more element like 12 here, nothing will happen. You see, AR dot length will get the size of the array dynamically. That is 23 elements this time. That is up to index 22. It will take. Okay. So I less than 23 it will take, and you see 12 also got printed. No matter whether you reduce the number of, for example, if I reduce this many number of elements also, it will work. Okay. Dynamically, it is getting the size of the array dynamically. Up to 34 it will come. If I add more elements here, you see 1, 1, 1, 1. Let's try to add a lot of elements. 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Intentionally, I'm giving a lot of elements, guys. Okay, just to save the time. Just see here, all the elements will be printed no matter what. Whether you reduce the size of the array or increase the size of the array, you see all the elements of the array are getting printed. That is the. It's better to use AR.length when you are using a normal for loop for iterating through the array elements. You want to access array elements using the for loop. When you are specifying the size of the array here, don't specify the manual size, rather specify the AR.length. Take the help of the AR.length. Tomorrow, if the size of the array changes, okay, or reduces or increases, no matter what, you'll get the at that point of time size of the array, and I less than size of the array is the logic that we are writing, and all the elements of the array will be printed. Everyone clear with this program? How to use for loop for accessing the array elements is clear for everyone. You see, instead of writing this many lines, right? You see, the declaration is done in a single line. In the same line, creation is done. Initialization is done in the same line. So instead of writing so many lines, we have done in a single line: declaration, creation, and initialization. And also by incorporating the for loop into the program, we don't have to write this many print statements to access our elements. Rather, just 3 lines are required. If this is single line, you can even remove the curly braces also, guys. Okay, that's also fine. You can even, this will work without the curly braces also. You see, the scope of the for loop is to up to one line if curly braces are not there. If curly braces are not there, if curly braces are there, whatever that comes in the curly braces, that will be the scope. Okay. So we can reduce the number of lines of the code as much as possible. by writing the code like this. Okay, so this is going to work without any problem. Without any problem, you see, it's working fine. Okay, so great. So this is how we can use a normal for loop with single dimensional arrays. Okay, this is a program. Next thing is there is something known as for each loop. If you remember in one of the previous session when I was explaining about the control flow statements, I said that I explained about the while loop, I explained about the do while loop, I explained about the for loop there. But did I explain about a enhanced for loop known as for each loop at that time? I said that during the arrays or collections framework, I'll cover that. Remember everyone? Remember? Does everyone remember that? Right? I said that in that control flow statements, I'll explain only about the while loop, do while loop, and for loop only. For each loop, I cannot explain because for each loop is specially designed for working with arrays and collections. For each loop, I said that at the time, I said that, yeah, for each loop at that time, I said that it's an enhanced for loop that will work only with arrays and collections framework. Everyone type in the chat box, arrays and collections framework. Okay, arrays, using arrays and collections framework only we can use for each loop. So meanwhile, Ram is asking me a question. What if we mention like I less than or equal to length? What will happen? A problem will come. Okay, Ram, a problem will come. After I cover this one, I'll explain that for you, Ram. Okay, after I cover this in exception, okay, I can cover that. Okay, is that okay, Ram? Okay, so for now, try to understand that for each loop is specially designed to work with what? For each loop is specially designed to work with what? Arrays and collections framework. Whenever you get a possibility of iterating through the array elements and you have the possibility of using for loop or for each loop, which one you have to give the first preference? I'm asking you guys, I'm asking you, if you have to access the array elements and to access the array elements, you want to create a for loop or you can also use for each loop. Which one you prefer? Normal for loop we have to prefer or for each loop we have to prefer? Yes, that's right. We have to prefer for each loop because for each loop is specially designed for arrays. When there is a loop that is specially designed for arrays, why we have to go for normal for loop, right? Java is giving you a special loop for arrays. Then utilize that special loop. If special loop is failing, then only go to the normal for loop. Special loop is failing, then go for the normal for loop, but prefer to use enhanced for loop, that is for each loop. Some people will call this enhanced for loop also. Okay, some terminology, some people will use it as enhanced for loop. Okay, so for each loop, okay, fine. So for each loop is a special loop that is designed for arrays and collections framework. It can be also be called as an enhanced for loop. It can be called as enhanced for loop. When you have the situation where to access the elements of the array, you can either use for loop or for each loop. I generally prefer for each loop over the for loop guys because this is a special loop designed for arrays and collections framework. So why, if something that is special for you, why to go with the normal for loop there? Okay. So how to use this for each loop, I'm going to cover now. How to use the for each loop, I'm going to cover now. So here I'm going to create for each loop single dimensional arrays demo. Okay, with main method I'm going to create. So here I'm going to create a array, integer array. AR is equal to new int of instead of new int of, I'll write the short representation of the array like this: 9, 5, 7, 1, okay, 8, 4, 3, 2, 6, 0, 11, 99, 22, 77, 45, 54, 63, 36, 89, 78. Like that, different elements I gave. Now you know that we don't want to use a separate system.out.println statements for accessing each and every element of the array. In the last session I showed you how to use a for loop. for that. But I again told you that there is a special loop designed for arrays. Whenever you get a possibility of using a normal for loop or special designed for loop for this arrays, you have to go with the enhanced for loop, that is for each loop. We have to use. How to use a for each loop? Just see here. Right, for here, this is the first time I'm covering the for each loop for you. So the syntax will be similar to the for loop initially. Okay, the for keyword will be same. Circular brackets will be same. Starting of the for loop will be there. Ending of the for each loop will be there. Inside the circular brackets, the difference will come in. Okay, when compare the normal for loop with the enhanced for each loop, okay, whatever that you write inside the circular brackets will be different. That is, here first you have to ask yourself, here how many elements are there, guys? Good number of elements are there in this array. Multiple elements are there. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 elements are there. I'll pick any random array element you pick. Guys, anyone pick any random element from this array? First come, first serve. I'll take your example, okay? Anyone pick? Yeah, 11. Someone has, Monica has picked 11. I'll take the 11, okay? If I individually take this 11, what is the data type of this 11? Only this 11. I'm not asking about the entire array. I'm not asking about the entire array. I'm only talking about the 11. Individually, if I take 11, what is the data type of the 11? Is it integer array or int? Is it integer array or int? It's an int only. It's integer data type. All the elements means integer array. But only one element of the array, individually it is int. Int data type. That data type you have to write here. You should not write integer array here. You have to you have to specify the data type of only one of the element of the array. Individually, if you pick any random element of the array and see what is the data type, it's nothing but the int data type. Individually, it is int data type that you have to write. After that, you give some variable name. You can give E, T, B, A, B, C, anything you can give. Let's say E for element, array element. E for array element, let's assume that. You have to give a symbol known as, which symbol I'm giving here, guys? Here E stands for any element, any individual element of the array. E stands for, assume that. Okay, the data type is, individually it is in data type. After that, which symbol I am giving? Colon symbol, colon, COLON, colon. It's nothing but the colon symbol, guys. It's nothing but the colon symbol. After the colon symbol, I have to give the name of the array. After colon symbol, what I have to give? After this colon symbol, what I have to give? I have to give the name of the array. I have to give the name of the array. That is AR here. What does this print, this for each statements now means? For each and every element of the array. What is the meaning of this for each loop? For each and every element of the array, this for loop will iterate. For each loop will iterate. For each and every element of the array, this for each loop will iterate. Okay, let me write it again. Now I have to write for keyword. After that, I have to provide circular brackets. Then starting of the for each loop, ending of the for each loop. Inside this, I have to take any random element. Take any random element like 11 or something, individual element of the array, and see what is the data type. In data type, int you write. And after that, declare any variable. You can say A, B, C, D, E, anything you can write. Let's assume that E. After that, colon symbol you have to write. After that, you have to give the name of the array. This means for each and every element of the array, system.out.println. Here, what I have to print? Just print E, guys. That's it. The name of this variable that you have given here for each and every element of the array, you have to print it out. That's it. Which one is simple? Normal for loop where you write int I is equal to 0, I less than equal to I less than size of the array, semicolon I plus plus, system.out.println air of I is better, or for each loop is better. Which one is simple? For each loop is simple, guys. Okay, for each loop is simple for arrays. You see, you don't have to specify the size of the array. Okay, you don't have to initialize a variable like only here you are initializing. Here you are declaring, but you are not initializing with the index 0 and all. You don't have to worry about the size of the array. You don't have to increment the value of the variable and all that you do in the for loop. Here you see in a simple way I have written for int E colon AR, system.out.println E. What will happen here? AR is there. The first iteration, what will happen here? AR, how many elements are there? 20 elements are there. In the 20 elements, what is the first element? Tell me, guys, what is the first element in this 20 elements? For in the first iteration, int E colon AR, 20 elements are there. What is the first element? 9. 9 will be assigned to E. Once one element is assigned to E, we'll go inside the for each loop, and here value of E is what? 9. 9 will be printed here. Here 9 will be printed, guys. After that, it will come to the end of the for each loop, and we'll go here and see any more, how many elements are left out. After 9 got assigned here, right? How many elements are left out? Total 19 elements are there. In that 19 elements, what is the first one? In that 19 elements, what is the first one, guys? Tell me. In the remaining 19 elements, what is the first one? 5. So 5 will be assigned to E. Since one value got assigned to E, it will go inside the for loop and 5 will be printed here. Again, any more elements are there? Remaining elements. 7. First element is 7. 7 will be assigned. 7 will be printed. Okay. The remaining elements in that 1 will be printed. Remaining elements in the first element 8 will be printed. Remaining elements from here 4 will be printed. Remaining elements from here 3 will be printed. Okay, 3 will be assigned and remaining elements 2 will be assigned to E and 2 will be printed. Remaining elements, the first element 6 will be assigned to the E and it will go to the for each loop and E will be printed. That is 6 will be printed. Remaining elements 0 will be printed. Remaining elements, these are the remaining elements. 11 will be in the first element of the remaining elements. 11 will be assigned to E and 11 will be printed. The remaining elements, 99 is the first value will be assigned to E and E will be printed. In the remaining elements, 22 will be assigned and 22 will be printed. In the remaining elements, 77 will be printed. In the remaining elements, first element that is 45 will be printed. In the remaining elements, 54 will be assigned and 54 will be printed. In the remaining elements, 63 will be printed. The remaining elements, first element is 36, 36 will be assigned and loop will be iterated and 36 will be printed. Remaining elements, 89 will be assigned to the E and the loop will be iterated and 89 will be printed. In the remaining elements, 78 is the remaining element, 78 will be given and loop will be iterated and 78 will be printed. After 78, any other elements are there? Guys, after 78, any other elements are there? No. When no elements are there, we'll come out of the for each loop. This is how the for each loop works. Run this code and see that whether you reduce the number of elements, increase the number of elements, doesn't matter. All the elements of the array will be printed, guys. So 9 to 78, everything got printed. Clear, everyone? How to use for each loop is clear for everyone? Which one is better? Normal for loop is better or for each loop is better for the arrays? For each loop will be better, definitely. Okay. It's simple syntax. You don't have to find the dynamic size of the array also here. You don't have to initialize the array, this variable with the index value of the array. All those things you don't have to do. Simply use for each loop, which is a special loop designed for arrays to work with the arrays. Okay. That's what is the for each loop. Now the final thing that everyone is waiting for, few questions have already come. So I have just postponed that question for you. Okay. That I'm going to cover now. That is array index out of bounds exception. Everyone type in the chat box. Array index out of bounds exception. Everyone type in the chat box this name of this exception. The name of the exception that you are seeing here. Everyone type in the chat box. Array index out of bounds exception. Yes, array index out of bounds exception. Correct. Array index out of bounds exception. So a lot of people were asking me the questions here during the session where you see I'm giving the size of the array. For example, here I'll explain the array index out of bounds exception. Array index out of bounds exception demo with main method I'm going to create. With main method I'm going to create. Here inside this, save this. I'm going to write down array index out of bounds. Here I'm going to write AR is equal to new int of 3. What is the size of the array? Tell me, guys. What is the size of the array? What is the size of the array here? 3 is the size of the array. That means into this particular array, how many elements I can store? Only 3 elements. AR of 0 is equal to 9. AR of 1 is equal to, AR of 1 is equal to, let's say 5. AR of 2 is equal to, let's say 7. Now, system.out.println, AR of 0. System.out.println, AR of 1. Then system.out.println, AR of 2. Is there any problem in this program? Tell me, guys. Is there any problem in this program? Size of the array is 3. 3 elements have initialized.
No.
3 elements I'm accessing. Is there any problem? No problem. Okay, I'll run the code. Code will run properly. All the 3 elements of the array will be printed. That is 957 got printed properly here without any issues. But what if I try to assign 4th element of the array, even though the size of the array is 3, but I try to assign the 4th element of the array as AR of 3 as 1. Is it possible? Am I getting any compiler error? Am I getting any compiler error?
Yes. Yes.
Am I getting any compiler error here? I'm not getting any compiler error. Java program is looking good. It's not saying anything here, right? While writing the code, the compiling is automatically happened by Eclipse IDE, and this particular line 12 is not giving me any compiler error. Even though the size of the array is 3, but I'm trying to store 4 elements into the array whose size is only 3, but here I'm not getting any compiler error. But if I run this program, in the output during the runtime, I'm going to get an exception known as a runtime error. We'll not get any compiler error here. In this program, do we get a compiler error? Here, no compiler error. Here, no compiler error will come from Java compiler. Rather, what we'll get? Rather, when you run, you will get what? Array index out of bounds, exception, runtime error. It's called as runtime error. Compile time error means before you run the code, whatever the error comes, that is called as a compile time error. After running the code, during the output, in the output, if you are getting an error because of any problem in the program, that is called as a runtime error. Are we getting compile time error or runtime error? Tell me, guys. In this example, are we getting compile time error or runtime error? We are getting runtime error. In the runtime error is nothing but an exception, guys. Runtime errors are nothing but exceptions. What is exception or runtime error we got? Whatever you have typed before I run the program, right? Array index out of bounds exception. Why we are getting this runtime error or exception? Because index 3 out of bounds. What is the size of the array? 3 out of bounds for the length 3. So what it is saying, the size of the array is 3, but you are giving the index as 3 in this line 12. The line 12, you are giving the index 3, which is nothing but the size of the array should be 4 to give the index as 3. So which is not possible. Hence, array index out of bounds exception error is coming. In which line we are getting this exception? Java 12th line. In this particular line, we are getting this exception. In this line, we are getting this particular exception. Error of 3 of 1, we are getting the exception. Clear, everyone? Everyone clear? Why we are getting the exception is clear? It's not a compiler error. In some Java programs, in some situations, we will not get compiler error. Rather, if you do some mistakes in the program, not always you'll get compiler error, okay, before you run the program. But after you run the program, during the runtime, while the program is getting executed, in the output, you are going to get an error that is called as runtime error. In other words, it's called as an exception. So based on different situations, based on the different type of runtime errors, we'll have different names for the exception. That is array index out of bounds exception, which is a runtime error is coming here because here we are exceeding the size of the array. Here the size of the array is 3, but we are exceeding the size of the array by giving the index as 3, which is a fourth element, which is not possible in the arrays. That's why we got this compiler error. Runtime error, that is exception. So what if, what if I comment this out and here I only initialize 3 elements of the array? There will not be any problem, I understand. But what if I try to access the third index 3? Is it possible? Up to 3 elements, okay. AR of 0 means 9 will come. AR of 5 means AR of 1 means 5 will come. AR of 2 means 7 will come. Then what about AR of 3? Is it possible? Fourth element, can you access? When there are only 3 elements assigned, initialized, and all fourth elements, can you access? No. In this case, what will happen? Same thing will happen, guys. Either you try to initialize the fourth element of the array when the size of the array is 3, or you try to access the fourth element of the array when only the size of the array is 3. You will get only one type of error, that is a runtime error known as array index out of bounds exception will come here also. In the line 17, you will get this time. Okay, 957 got printed properly this time because AR of 0, 9, AR of 1 got 5, AR of 2 got 7. But when you try to access AR of 3, which doesn't exist, you'll get array index out of bounds exception because you are trying to use index 3, which is fourth element, but the size of the array is only 3, up to 2 in size minus 1, that is length minus 1, 3 minus 1, that is 2, up to index 2 only you can use, but you are using index 3, because of which in the 17th line, you got the array index out of bounds exception error. Srinivas, is that clear for you right now? What will happen if you try to try to store more elements into the array, and what will happen when you try to access the array elements behind its size? Is that clear for you? You are asking that question, right, Srinivas? Is that clear for you right now? Okay, fine. Yeah, the next thing is one more question also I got, guys. Okay, I got one more question also. What is that one more question? I'll comment this out. I don't want to use this kind of thing. Okay. Instead of that, here I'll use for int I is equal to 0. Ram was asking me this question. I less than size of the array, that is 3. I plus plus, that's okay. Okay. And here if I write down system.out.println AR of I, will there be any problem in this code? Is there any problem in this code? Ram, is there any problem in this code? Ram, you there? Is there any problem, Ram, in this code? No problem. I is equal to 0, 0 less than 3. We'll go inside the for loop. AR of 0 means what? AR of 0 means what? AR of 0 means what? 9 will be printed. Then I plus plus. I will become 1. 1 less than 3. True. AR of 1 means what? 5 will be printed. Then I will become 2. 2 less than 3. AR of 2 will become what? 7 will be printed. Good. Then I plus plus. I will become 3. 3 less than 3 is false. Will come out of the for loop. So all the elements of the array got printed. What if I give equal here? What will happen? Tell me. Can anyone say what will happen if I give equal symbol here? Initially initially I is equal to 0. 0 less than or equal to 3 is true. We'll go inside the for loop. AR of 0 means 9 will be printed. I will become 1. 1 less than or equal to 3 is true. AR of 1 will be 5 will be printed. I will become 2. 2 less than or equal to 3. Again true. AR of 2 is nothing but 7. Then I becomes 3. 3 less than or equal to 3 is also true. AR of 3 means, is there any AR of 3 here? 0 is there, 1 is there, 2 is there. AR of 3 means you're trying to access behind the size of the array. So here you will get array index out of bounds exception. Yes, I think Ram got the answer already. He has already given the answer in the chat box. So array index out of bounds exception will come because you're trying to access the fourth element of the array which doesn't exist. That's why you should not give equal symbol here. Okay, this will also result in array index out of bounds exception. Okay, we should not give equal symbol here. Hope everyone is clear now why we have to give, okay, less than 3 rather than I less than or equal to 3. Okay. Anyone have any questions from the single dimensional arrays? Anyone have any questions from the single dimensional arrays now? From the single dimensional arrays, anyone have any questions? Yeah, I'll cover that. At the end, I'll cover. Okay, Vishnu, I'll cover your question at here. Arrays and different data types declarations. Okay. I'll cover the topic here, Vishnu. Just wait for a while. Is that okay? Yeah, fine. Vishnu said okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? About the single dimensional arrays, do you have any other questions, guys? About the single dimensional arrays? If it is clear, just type C in the chat box. If you have any questions, you can type C in the, you can ask me the questions. Okay. If it's clear for you, just type C. If you are able to understand till single dimensional arrays, just type C in the chat box. Just type C in the chat box if you're able to understand so far. Okay, clear, great. So this is all about the single dimensional arrays, guys. I have to cover two dimensional arrays now. Okay, let me cover the two dimensional arrays now.